You've probably stood in a hardware store aisle, picked whichever fence panel was in stock, and called it done. A fence usually gets bought like a last-minute detail when it's actually one of the hardest working structures in your yard. Holding back deer, hiding a chain link eyesore, bracing a gate that will get slammed for the next 20 years, curving around a lot line that refuses to be a straight rectangle. The 10 builds in this video never treated their fence as an afterthought, and once you see what they actually solved for, you'll never look at a fence panel the same way again. Number 10. The Slatted Privacy Planter. Most people solve privacy and curb appeal as two separate purchases, a fence for one and a flower bed for the other. This build treats them as the same structure doing two jobs at once. The frame sits 4 inches off the ground, so water and dirt pass through instead of pooling against the wood. And both faces got stained, not just the side facing the street, because a wall with plants growing out of the top is furniture you live next to, not a barrier you forget about. When an overnight downpour hit before the stain had cured, the fix was cardboard, not panic. The second board added to the top wasn't a separate purchase either. It became the planter base. Nothing here got bought twice. 9. The No Experience Slipfence. Most fences ask you to master joinery before you touch a board. This one asks you to master sliding a plank into a channel. Metal posts and top rails carry built-in spacers, so building it is spacer, board, with no cutting joints and no exposed fasteners anywhere in the run. The one open question the builder never fully resolved was whether tightly slotted cedar would expand and pop the boards over time, and the honest answer was to follow the manufacturer's install video exactly rather than guess at a fix nobody had tested yet. Solar caps went into the post tops instead of getting bolted on after. A fence that requires zero carpentry experience isn't a compromise, it's a design decision. 8. The tension steel gate. A double gate is the weakest point in almost any yard, the biggest span, the most cycles of opening and slamming over the years, and most people still build it like a regular fence panel with hinges. This one gets treated like a suspension structure instead. A stainless steel frame carries the slatted wood infill, and diagonal turnbuckle cables run corner to corner to keep the whole thing from sagging under its own weight and years of use. The privacy layer is just the visible part. The actual engineering is in the cross bracing. Nobody notices until they try to lift the gate off its hinges and can't. The lesson is simple. The one moving part in your fence line is exactly where over-engineering earns its keep. 7. The 2-hour slot-in fence. This is the fastest build on the list, and it's worth understanding why that isn't a shortcut. A manufactured post and spacer system does the joinery work a DIY build would normally spend a weekend on, so the entire job becomes cutting cedar boards to length and sliding them into place. 12 feet of fence ran $865 total, posts included, and the cedar itself needed no ceiling to hold up outdoors. Sometimes the fast option isn't the cheap out. It's recognizing which part of a project a manufactured system already solved better than you would by hand, so your actual effort goes toward the build that's worth doing slowly. 6. The Arbor gate debate. Every gate with a diagonal brace has a right way and a wrong way to angle it, and this builder knew it and did it anyway. Diagonal boards running toward the hinge form a V instead of an A, which looks better and offers less resistance to sagging over time, a trade-off the builder accepted on purpose rather than by accident. The boards themselves were hand-milled and planed from leftover Alaskan yellow cedar 6x6s. The whole project, 150 feet of fence, plus an arbor and gate, ran $2,000 in materials, against a professional quote of $7,000 for a plain fence with none of the extras. Build the version you actually want first, solve the structural risk later if it ever shows up. 5. The drainage first hogwire fence. Hogwire panels get treated as a look, but the real decision in this build is how the wire gets held in place. Instead of routing a groove into the boards, which would collect water and rot the wood from the inside, two flat 2x4s sandwich the wire together, leaving a gap that lets water and debris fall straight through. Metal posts replaced wood ones entirely because the ground stays wet enough locally that timber posts fail fast. The height is calibrated specifically against deer, and the discussion around it points at something worth knowing. A top cable strung a few feet above the wire deters jumping animals almost as well as building the whole fence taller would, at a fraction of the material cost. 4. The puppy-proof modular bed fence. This isn't decoration, it's a removable exclusion system built to be taken apart on command. PVC pipe cut into short sockets lets each fenced panel lift straight out of a raised bed without unscrewing a single fastener, which matters when the actual threat is a puppy that needs supervised access some days and none on others. Pine furring strips form the frames. Chicken wire gets stapled across them, and tung oil protects the untreated wood. 3 beds worth of exclusion fencing cost about $150 total, a fraction of buying pre-built panels. Fencing doesn't have to be permanent to actually work. Sometimes the smartest fence is the one built to come apart. 3. The deer fortress that doesn't touch the ground. Most raised bed enclosures get bolted or buried into position. This one just sits there. No dug post holes, no concrete footings, resting on an old slab and staying put purely on weight. Soil, water, and structure combine to roughly 60 pounds per square foot, and a 2x4 base under the posts spreads that load wide enough that gravity does the anchoring job posts usually handle. Cedar fence pickets form the box sides, specifically treated lumber frames the rest, and about half of the $2,000 budget went toward the sub-irrigation system feeding what's growing inside rather than the structure itself. The fence didn't need to look finished, it needed to be heavy enough that nothing, deer included, could move it. 2. The concert hall slat fence. Most slat fence spacing gets copied from a catalog photo. This one got copied from acoustic paneling inside a concert hall. Wider gaps between individual battens and between whole sections, built specifically as a feature wall rather than a boundary line. The existing feather edge posts got reused rather than replaced, spaced up to 3 meters apart, so a 2x4 frame went up over the top with vertical supports every 600 millimeters, purely to stop that long a span from sagging. Cedar battens came in short, cheap lengths instead of full runs, and thin stainless brads hold each one so invisibly that the whole wall reads as floating. The floating look everyone chases with hidden brackets is really just a fastener choice. Lastly, number 1. The curved fence built one strip at a time. Every commenter on this build had the same joke. Just buy pre-curved wood from the store. There isn't any, and that's the entire point. The property line here bends through both convex and concave curves, and rather than force a straight fence onto a boundary that refuses to be one, the builder cut redwood 2x4s into thin 3/8-inch strips and laminated them one at a time against a reference edge, gluing and clamping a single strip, removing the clamp from the center of the curve, adding the next strip, and working outward down both sides until the whole run held its shape. Screws went in horizontally through the sides afterward, never through the faces, to lock the curve permanently, before the whole thing got planed smooth, puttied, and sanded. This is bent lamination, a technique furniture makers use on boat hulls and curved cabinetry, applied here to a fence line most people would have just forced straight. The right tool for an oddly shaped yard was never a workaround. It was patience, one thin strip at a time.